Hello everyone, my name is Carolyn Monroe and I'm with Community Action to Promote Healthy Environments. In this video we'll be presenting Part 2B of the Air Quality Monitoring Workshop Series, Finding and Using Air Data. This workshop was designed and produced by the Community Action to Promote Healthy Environments Partnership, or CAPHE for short. This slide shows all of the partners who are members of the CAPHE partnership. This workshop was developed for people working to promote clean air in their communities through the use of improved air quality monitoring. Our goal is to teach you how to use available data to promote clean air and improved health. Here's the agenda for this video. Today we will introduce ways to use data to understand both long and short-term trends using some of the existing portals that are available. Specifically, we will be talking about design values, concentration plots, and multi-year tile plots. To begin, we will talk about ways to use data to look at trends over time in pollution data. Let's start with a short overview of some graphs showing long-term concentration levels first. Using this graph, we can begin to interpret trends. Let's orient ourselves first. The lines on the graph show levels of PM2.5 recorded at 6 Detroit area monitoring sites between 2016 and 2022, and 3 sites between 2019 and 2022. The dark red dotted line shows the National Ambient Air Quality Standard, or NAAQS level, that was the highest allowable level of PM2.5 up until 2024, which was 12 micrograms per cubic meter of air. The highest level of PM2.5 is found in the light blue line, recorded at the Trinity monitoring site on Fort Street. Because the Trinity site was above or at 12 micrograms per cubic meter on average in both 2021 and 2022, that area was considered to be out of compliance with the NAAQS standard for PM2.5. The other monitoring sites show levels that in some cases approach the NAAQS standard prior to 2024, but do not go above it. The monitoring stations located in Southwest Detroit, Dearborn, Trinity, Military Park, and Detroit Police 4th Precinct are consistently above the new standard of 9 micrograms per cubic meter during the time period shown on this graph. And if those levels persist, they will be considered in non-compliance with the new health-based standards for PM2.5. Understanding design values is important to understand trends in monitored air quality data over time. Design values are the metrics created from hourly, daily, or yearly air quality measurements to determine compliance with the NAAQS. Each criteria pollutant has its own design value created using the formula that you can see in this table. The design value for PM2.5, for example, is calculated by taking the annual average level of measured PM2.5 for 3 years, then calculating the average of those values across those 3 years. If that number is above 9, then the new standard of 9 micrograms per cubic meter of air has been exceeded. Design values allow us to graph concentrations of a pollutant over a specific period of time. On the last graph, we looked at yearly PM2.5 design values calculated from PM2.5 raw measurements. On the next graph, we will look at the same thing for just the year 2023. This graph shows PM2.5 design values at Detroit area monitoring sites for 2023. The title reads 2023 Annual PM2.5 3-Year Design Values. This means that the values on this chart were created using the formula we saw on the last slide for PM2.5, but for 1 year only. In this graph, you can see the highest level of PM2.5 as of 2023 is now the Military Park area near the new Gordie Howe International Bridge. Again, the formula used to generate this graph took the annual average level of measured PM2.5 for 3 years, then calculated the average of those values across those 3 years. If we were still in 2023, the Military Park monitoring station would be above or in non-compliance with the old NAAQS standard of 12 micrograms per cubic meter. And if levels shown on this chart for 2023 continue, Eliza Howell, Military Park, Trinity, Detroit Police Precinct 4, Southwest Detroit, New Mount Hermon Church, and Dearborn will all be in non-compliance with NAAQS standards. In other words, levels of PM2.5 in those communities will be above the limit that has been shown to be harmful to health, which is 9 micrograms per cubic meter. Those charts from EGLE and the EPA show why these trends are important to understand compliance with regulatory levels. Looking at trends are also important for understanding health exposures. An acute exposure, or short-term exposure, might be something like a fire, and it would be more logical to look at 24-hour averages. A long-term or chronic exposure is what we would consider the annual PM2.5 concentration averages to be. In that case, it would make more sense to look at annual averages over a number of years. Trends are also needed for regulatory compliance, forecasting, and tracking. The EPA has a number of tools to help you generate trend data for air pollutants over time. These tools are helpful because they provide several different options for viewing data. Here we'll describe two of them, the concentration plot and the multi-year tile plot. We will begin by giving a brief overview of each, and then following that, you'll see links to separate videos on how to use these tools. The concentration plots we'll look at today show measurements of different pollutants over the course of a day. These measurements are depicted as dots on the graph. The dots are then connected by a line that shows the general trend of that pollutant's concentration over the course of the day. This could be increasing, decreasing, or a mixture of both. For example, these concentration plots are showing daily trends for sulfur dioxide, or SO2, ozone, and fine particulate matter, or PM2.5. These are raw measurements, not design values over a number of years. So for each day in the year 2000, for PM2.5 for example, there is a dot for each day of the year that a measurement was taken. Each dot represents the 24-hour average for that day. The National Ambient Air Quality Standard is shown as a dashed line on each of these plots. We've been talking about the NAAQS for PM2.5 being 9, so note that this graph is showing the 24-hour average, not the 3-year design value. The format differs for each pollutant depending on how the NAAQS are calculated. SO2 is a 1-hour maximum, ozone is a 1-hour maximum, and PM2.5 is a daily 24-hour average. It can be a little hard to interpret these plots because there are so many data points, and for this reason the dots are usually connected by a line that shows the general trend of that pollutant concentration over the course of the day. Overall, concentration plots are best for viewing long-term trends, and they're the easiest way to get data. Just know that plots are limited to 25 years and you must enter dates prior to selecting sites. Another data presentation format from EPA is a multi-year tile plot. This graph shows the daily air quality index levels for ozone for each day over the period 1999 to 2024, using data from the Detroit, Warren, Dearborn area. The vertical axis on the left side of the graph is showing the year. Overall, it shows 20 years of daily ozone data starting with the year 1999, January through December, all the way to the beginning of 2024. Each of the little marks represents a day. The color coding is based on the Air Quality Index, or AQI. So green is good, red is unhealthy, purple is hazardous, and so forth. In this case, there is a cluster of yellow, orange, and red during the June, July, and August period. Ozone is mostly formed by reactions with pollutants like volatile organic compounds and nitrogen oxides, which are emitted into the air, then undergo chemical reactions that make them dangerous. They are also known as precursor pollutants. It takes high temperatures for these to react. And in Michigan, we get those temperatures, of course, in the summer, which is why you see the yellow, red, and orange tiles mostly in the summer months. If you counted days in the red area or higher, you would see the number of days that actually exceed the ozone level of 0.07 ppm during the summer. Lastly, the gray areas are where there is no data. In 2012, EPA indicated to most states that you need to run these monitors 365 days a year. Before that, they were typically only run in the ozone season, which was defined as April to September. Overall, multi-year tile plots give you a sense of trends over time and by season, and it's pretty easy to generate them, making this a great choice for community monitoring. This part of the video looked at how we can observe trends in data using graphs. Remember, the graphs we looked at that were generated by the EPA and EGLE presented us with design values. Metrics created from hourly, daily, or yearly air quality measurements to determine compliance with the NAAQS. The concentration plots we looked at showed a dot for each day of the year that a measurement was taken. These are best for viewing long-term trends. And multi-year tile plots showed air quality index levels for each day of the year. These are best for looking at trends over time and by season. We have separate demos that explain how to download these plots. Click on the slide to learn more.
In this part of the video, we'll demonstrate the Open Air platform. Open Air, or openaq.org, is a nonprofit organization whose goal is to provide universal access to air quality data to empower a global community of changemakers to solve air inequality. On the screen is a picture of Detroit with monitors shown in purple. They include regulatory monitors like EPA monitors and purple air monitors. What's great about OpenAQ is they show you hourly and day of the week patterns. Right here, for example, in the hour of day analysis at Southwest Detroit, you can see a bump up in nitrogen dioxide concentrations, probably due mostly to traffic and meteorological conditions.
Sometimes a more revealing analysis than hour of day is a day of week analysis. Here we see elevated levels Monday through Friday and a drop on the weekend. The graph was generated at a specific point in time, but the darker purple lines are showing you the median level over the past year for comparison. This is the concentration at which half the time it will be higher and half the time it will be lower, and then the fingers or bars on either end of the light purple rectangle indicate the range of the concentration for the hour of day on the y-axis. Overall, this indicates the significance of local sources, particularly in Detroit because we have greatly reduced traffic on Sunday. Saturday is a mixed day, and Friday is sometimes a little bit lower. This is because nitrogen dioxide in this example comes from lots of different sources, not just traffic. This brings us to the end of this video. Here's a short list of the tools we talked about today and when to use them. To find EPA monitors, use the EPA monitor link on this slide. To find Eagle monitors, use the Eagle monitoring link on this slide. These two maps show the gold standard reference monitors, which you should use for the most reliable data. Find and note the reference monitors nearest to you so you can cross-reference them on other websites. For weekly, monthly, or longer-term concentration trends, download a concentration plot from the EPA using the link on this slide. For air quality over time and by season, download a multi-year tile plot that shows the air quality index for these time periods from the EPA. And finally, look to OpenAQ or Eagle for the latest, hourly, or weekday data in your area. Links to demos for these websites are included in this video.
If you want to learn more, wind roses and pollution roses would be a natural next step. A wind rose displays how wind speed and direction typically occur at a particular location, and they help to understand influence of local air pollution sources. Pollutant roses are graphical displays that show concentration at a monitoring point by wind direction or sector. They can indicate the pollution due to upwind emission sources, and they can also help you answer questions such as, are higher concentrations or AQIs happening mostly when wind comes from a certain direction? And also questions like, is a known pollution source impacting air quality at the device deployment site? Knowing how to use these tools can enhance your understanding and improve your ability to find and analyze air quality in your area. Follow the bit.ly link on this slide to learn more about these tools and other air quality monitoring sources. Among other resources, you'll find links on understanding wind and pollution roses, including where to create your own wind rose, and a website for tracing air back to its origin. CAPHE would like to acknowledge the following individuals and groups for their contributions during the creation and recording of the video series. Thank you.